Okay, it's Tag Tuesday again. I have a tag to do. I was tagged by Derek Green 1, or as I call him, Derek Green, who is the number one Derek Green. It's called the Honest Booktuber Tag. Let's see. He was tagged by Jeff at Reading Still Matters. The tag was created by Harriet Rosie. Apparently, that video is no longer around. So this is an old tag someone created who's not doing a channel anymore, or at least they deleted that one, that video. So it's 10 questions. I'll get right to it. Have you ever lied about reading a book? I haven't. I don't know. If I have, it would probably be for school or something like that, but I don't think I ever did. I had a teacher in 7th or 8th grade who was really into reading, and it was 8th grade. And she taught just basically by reading. And this is how I remember it. I can't believe this is true because this was not a really academically minded school. And this probably sounds insane to people that have gone school in more recent decades, but she required us to read 6 books. We were on the quarter system. It was a 6 week, every 6 weeks you would get, I guess it's like a half quarter. Every 6 weeks you would get new grades. So it was like everything was geared around a 6 week term. So your report cards would come out every 6 weeks, whatever. And she had us read one book every week on our own outside of class reading, which sounds insane. I mean, I loved it, of course, and there was a lot of readers in that class. It was not an elective class. We were just assigned whatever teacher we got. So it wasn't for passionate readers or anything like that. It was regular 8th grade English. And if you finished your 6 books, you could read more for extra credit. And this was outside of class. This was outside of assigned textbook reading, which was mostly short stories. Now, there were ways that people could get around it. She would let you substitute other things. Like she would let these kids read, instead of one book, they could read 100 pages of a comic book. And of course, I loved comics, but I didn't count those because uh, I wanted the chance to read a lot of books in addition to the comic book reading. And these stupid kids in this class, some of them they would even cheat on the comic book thing. They would take, because 100 pages of comic book is nothing compared to reading a novel, even a young adult novel. But they would count the pages. They would count the ads as pages read in the comic book, just to get over. But I read the 6 books, and then you could also, she had you do these little book reports on an index card for extras. She had one-on-one conferences with every student about the 6 books they read on their own. So a lot of time in her class was devoted to reading. I probably learned a lot more that year than I learned from many other teachers. But then, so if you finish your 6 books, you could read more books. But what I would do is I would cheat on the extra credit by making up books. Sometimes I would make up a book with a name, and a fake writer's name and a fake, I'd use a real publisher, but a fake, year of publication. I remember I wrote this, and then you tell a little bit about the story, and then the what you thought of the book. And I remember this one. I remember was this. I must have got it off a movie or something about this book about giant praying mantises that take over Las Vegas or something like that. It's probably like based on one of those 50s science fiction movies like them and stuff like that. And it's so funny because, she would take these and, give you extra credit, which didn't really mean anything. I think, what does extra credit mean? It's just one of those mysteries of maybe a teacher will tell me if it really means anything. Or they just use it to get more work. But I thought it was fun to do after I finished my 6 real books to do that, even though I was reading more than 6 books, of course, every 6 weeks. It still seems crazy that a teacher would get kids to read 6 books, a book every week through a school year, in addition to, I'm sure today, where they don't even, or even today, like Ivy League college freshmen are not able to read a book, apparently, just from what I hear of rumors and things. Um, so I guess I was lying about reading a book because I hadn't read the books because they didn't exist. It's so funny. It wasn't really until like when I thought back on this a couple of years ago that obviously she knows those extra credit books were fake, but she didn't call me out on it because she probably thought it was funny or whatever, just to encourage creativity. But you could not think there was a book about praying mantises taking over the earth, even with the kind of crappy books I was reading at the time. Um, and also good books. I remember I read a lot of books, a lot of Ray Bradbury at that time. I also read some Conan, and she wanted me to read more Ray Bradbury and less Conan. But anyway, so that's what comes to mind when I think about lying about reading a book, is the books I made up for extra credit. Number 2, have you ever avoided a book because of a controversy surrounding it or its author? No. In fact, I've probably read more books because of controversy than avoided them. Um, I probably read Lolita because of the controversy. I think I was about 19 or 20. I think I'd seen or had heard of the Kubrick movie first. And I've probably read Hog because of the controversy, and Junkie. Well, somebody gave me that. A girlfriend gave me that book because I tried to read Nova Express, and then I read, which was hard to follow, and then I read, and then this girl I knew who was a bit older said she liked William Burroughs, and she said, "Well, you got to read Junkie because it's just crazy. It's about a junkie," and this was in the punk rock days, and we all knew, people among us who read books and stuff knew about the controversy where he murdered his wife, or I would say murdered, but I guess you could say maybe accidental death, but um, so I haven't avoided books because of controversies surrounding its author. I don't think. I don't think I would be attracted to a book just because of a controversy anymore. I wouldn't. And there's two kind of controversies. There's personal conduct, and there's the controversy of the book itself. But these are really touchy issues these days, which weren't when I became a reader. They weren't touchy issues at all. They were just, you didn't necessarily think that you needed to morally approve of a writer. There are many writers who I read that were later turned out to be fascists or whatever, and the pre-war they were not. And so it's really not. There are a lot of books that by writers I don't like, that I kind of, and I try and stay away from this now, I kind of relish in the controversy of a writer that I think is overrated being taken down. But that's maybe, that's as close as I can get to an embarrassing truth there. Have you ever been sent a book for free and not disclosed it? So I assume a lot of these have to do with like bigger channels and things like that. No, I've only once ever been sent a book. Actually, it was a video I saw. The person asked said he would send free copies if he promised to review it. That turned out to be a big mistake because I didn't like the book and I still had to review it. I didn't review it on my channel. I just did it on Goodreads or something. I've had a couple people early on. I'll get to that. I took my email address off my account because I was having some issues for a bit, but a couple people early on asked me if they could send me stuff to review. I didn't even respond to those because that's not my kind of channel. It just felt like the people who sent those when I had a new channel and I was getting traction for a few months, um, that they were kind of generically sending out stuff like you really know that I don't review new books, I don't review indie books or that kind of thing. Um, and I made my channel to talk about books I like, not to just talk about books in general. Okay, so number 4, have you ever bought a book with no intention of reading it? Again, I can't think of a situation where you would do that. I mean, I've definitely bought books that I probably knew I wasn't going to read, or, but they're always aspirational. I always hope to read them. I don't think I've ever bought a book just because, oh, well, no, I would have probably wanted to reread it, but there were books that I lost along the way, or, that I just like to have another copy of and not necessarily planning to read it again. I'm sure this doesn't, the spirit of this question is not to mention gifts. I've obviously bought gifts for people and not wanting to read it, but I've also bought gifts for people when I really wanted to read the book and I read it really quick and then gave it to them because I'm pretty careful with books. So, number 5, have you ever got caught up in BookTube drama? No, I'm thinking about starting some though. Um, no, just kidding. I don't think I've ever got caught up in it. Just in the very minor way of I just want to booktubers have a beef or whatever, just to support them and try and get them to not cancel their channel, that kind of thing. Like, I hope you'll keep posting, whatever, like that, just to be encouraging. I've been around a long time, so in the world, I mean, not on BookTube, but there's nothing to be gained by getting caught up in BookTube drama. Anything that's dramatic or uh, people beefing or anything like that, it's the Streisand effect. You don't want to add to it. Um, because it just makes it worse. There's no way you can't come in as a third party or and do something publicly to make it better. No, you can't go in and say, "Hey, these people are both nice people. They really should get along." It's not going to help. You can't help. It's best to stay out of it and let it die. Don't give it energy. Don't give it oxygen. Um, have you ever had a hate comment? Hate comment, and if so, did you respond? Yes, unfortunately, I did, and this is why I took my uh, info off the like my email address stuff. I'll come up with a different email address, like just dedicated to my account, like a Proton Mail account or something. After a while, I put a comment. Usually, I just use like um, I have a different YouTube account for mostly for Spanish, but sometimes just for to look for different things that I don't want on my feed all the time, like political things. And I made this, but I didn't switch over that. It was just on my regular YouTube account, my Bookless Pete account, and I made some comment on a Breaking Points video, political. That's a news channel. Um, it was just about this. They had done this interview with someone, and the person really had nothing to say. They had like kind of ginned up a fake controversy, and you could kind of tell the hosts were like, "Oh, I'm glad we did this segment. It's kind of a waste of time." And I just put that in there, but somehow some super fan of that channel really thought I was insulting the host or something. I don't know. So the only reason, so this doesn't so far pertain to BookTube, but then that person decided to go. They were so mad that I had done this that even beyond just putting like a rude comment under my thing, my comment on there, and insulting my looks and age and everything, and then went to like my channel and did a bunch of like on like 3 or 4 different videos started posting rude comments on my 3 or 4 most recent videos. So I had to go through and delete all those and block the person. But I had responded to him on that channel too and got into this stupid argument with this insane person who's uh, did that. So that is one I did respond to, and it probably made it worse. So I had to block that person. Um, and there was been like, other than that, that was the only. And then I took all my personal information off my account because it seemed like he was really mad at me for some reason. And I've had things like that on my website and things like that before in the past. People try and find out who you really are and where you live and things like that. So I try to avoid those kind of things. I think everybody else should avoid it too. But people like to put their personal information online, but it's not a good idea because people are crazy. Anyway, but then there's been a few other comments that weren't really like hate comments. A couple of them might have even been uh, just a little snippy comments that I do delete and not respond to only because, again, you don't want to give oxygen to this. This is what people want. And I've done like almost 275 videos, which is embarrassing in itself. But, I'm talking like literally 3 or 4 comments. I've blocked people on, deleted the comments and blocked the people just because if you're a YouTuber, if you've ever posted videos, you know about this. But if you haven't, you don't. Which is when you go into the tool, the app for called YouTube Studio, I think YT Studio, something like that. It will give you the comments it'll give you a list of comments, and they will stay on your feed until you respond to them, which is ridiculous. You should be able to delete those comments. This is a YouTube problem. You should be able to delete the comments that you don't want to. You should be able to delete them from your feed just because you don't want to look at them without deleting them from the page. So there's a couple like snippy comments, like mostly about media stuff. 2 of them about Star Trek, and just one really um, just kind of snippy comment on a Conan video once, and just another like nonsense comment at one point, which was just very confusing, which didn't bother me. I mean, it's good to have comments under your videos. But if you're not going to give it any energy in terms of like a like or a response or a heart, it just sits there. And so you have to look at the stupidest every time you open up YouTube Studio to see what your new comments are. You have to look at the stupidest ones because they're at the top. Now, this is probably something bigger channels have to handle differently because they don't obviously, if it's a big channel, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 subscribers, they're always going to have unresponded comments in there. So I guess you just get used to it or something. But it drives me crazy. I like to have that queue cleared. So I usually respond to every comment unless it's just something that it's a bad idea to respond to, like a piece of spam or something like that, or a request that you don't want to have to deal with or something. Or a truly dumb question I got once that I guess the person was offended about the way I described something, the way I referred to a fictional character in a book. They didn't like the way I referred to this character, who this person maybe has a parasocial relationship with. I don't want to get into it, so I just deleted it because I don't want to say, I don't want to get into a protracted thing about what do you mean? What was wrong with the way how I described that character? And I do these videos off the cuff, so if I misspoke, I'm sorry. I do think 709 was a former Borg. I don't know what to tell you if that bothers you. So I don't know. That was a long time ago, but obviously I'm still holding on to it because I get so few negative interactions, that the few that I do get kind of stay with me. And I am capable of being very obnoxious. So I try not to, I don't want my channel to go in that direction. So some of these people, I could really egg them on and upset them if I wanted to, but I try not to do that kind of thing because, I try and take the view that people are really doing their best. They may be having a bad day, or they may be, there's people outside. They may be just taking things you say wrong because, they have a certain opinion about uh, your gender or your age or your generation or your race or anything. And I see this happen with all different kind of people. Obviously, women have to deal with it a lot more online, where a woman will say something just sort of giving her own opinion, and dudes will just freak on them. So I can't really complain about the little amount I get, but sometimes people, you can go in, and I'm dealing with this on Twitter now because Twitter's really getting bad. I'm hoping it gets a little worse so that I can finally delete my account, but it is really important. It is really, if you care about what's going on in the world, it is one of the best news sources, although it's getting a lot worse since the war. Getting a lot less useful, I mean, since the war, and also because they've monetized it. People say the most outrageous things so they can get like a few pennies per post. And that kind of brings me into number 7. Number 7, have you ever made a video just because you knew it would get views? Well, I've done that a couple times. Sometimes I used to do that more in the beginning, because it doesn't always work out. I did a video on Pride and Prejudice during Jane Austen month, and I thought that would be a big video. I worked really hard on it because I didn't want to make any mistakes and upset people, because it's so many people's favorite book. I made a long character list so I wouldn't mess up the names of any characters. I enjoyed the book a lot. It was a book I didn't like when I first read it when I was 18 or 19, but this most recent reread last year, and it got like, I don't know, it got definitely less than average number of views, and that could be just because there's so much stuff about Pride and Prejudice always being written all the time, which that is one thing. And I did a King Cole video that got like a lot of views. For me, it got like 750 views, like last month or so, and that was kind of a mixed bag because my videos, I have 280 subscribers. My videos usually get around 30 or 40 views, which I'm happy with because that's at least beating the 10% rule. Like, your videos should average at least 10% of, so anything that I get over 28 views I enjoy. But the problem with that one view, it kind of just hit the keyword, just kind of hit what was going on, because it was the same week the Epstein files came out, and I had some tag on there about deep state conspiracy theories, because I was talking about how the Shadow Kingdom, the King Cole story of the Shadow Kingdom, is credited with some conspiracy theorists as being the first sort of reference, or creative fictional reference to like to lizard people running the world. It was kind of just a way to talk about it, and so it got all those views, which means my next 2 videos got promoted more. Next 2 or 3 got promoted more, but then when the algorithm, when YouTube sees that everything dropped off, you're getting 700, now you're only getting 40 or 50, then my views got to be worse and worse, because I think I'm no expert, but I think YouTube really wants you to really tries to manipulate you into doing what's popular, what will get you more views. It doesn't matter to me because I'm not monetized, and I don't think I ever will be, and I'm not sure I would want to be because uh, I don't want to have more commercials crammed into my videos because commercials are really just killing YouTube now. From what I hear people say, I have the premium service, which is worth it, but it's becoming unwatchable. It was before I didn't have the premium service for a few months, and it was just insane how unwatchable YouTube is. So I really don't think for me, to be able to have the ability to make like $50 or $100 a month is really worth it for how much people wanting to watch my videos would suffer. Uh, so sometimes I guess the upshot is sometimes I will make a video that I know is going to get views, more views for me than if I do something else, but it doesn't always work out anyway. So what's the difference? Just do the videos you want to talk about. Number 8. If you could go back to the beginning of your channel, would you do anything differently? No, actually, probably what I should do is go back to the beginning of the channel and do things I was doing then, because the channel grew fairly fast for the first 6 months or so, and then I had a couple gaps where I just stopped posting for a while because you just get tired of it or you just get out of the habit. But I used to participate more in events and things like that, and that does help grow your channel if you make sure that you link to all the co-hosts and you do response videos to big channel things. And I used to do a lot of that stuff just to kind of introduce myself to the world. But a lot of people that I started with, that I started around the same time, is they're already gone. A lot of them. And people who are doing much better than me, and some that weren't, and some that were, they just quit. They just stopped doing it. And a lot of them take on a lot of a lot of production values, and a lot of events, a lot of buddy reads, a lot of lives and things like that. And I'm happy to do those if people want to invite me onto them, as long as they use my correct name, which is Bookless Pete or Pete. Um, uh, if the people seem nice and they're fun to talk to, I enjoy the social aspects of it more than other aspects. At times I thought, well, maybe I should just comment a lot on people's videos and not even bother to make videos. But, that's a lot of typing, and I like to talk, which brings in me up to number 9. No, number 10. First, we'll do number 9. Are there any channels you wish you could be more like? No, I wish I was less like. My channel's kind of generic. I wish I'm trying to do this more of, you get into kind of habit of, if you watch a lot of channels where the creators are really interesting and they give you ideas for books you want to read, kind of takes your reading in a different direction. When I started the channel, I thought I'd be reading a lot more classics, but I follow so many great channels that talk about great genre books, and I always go back and I want to read those again, and or you know pick up back with authors that I used to really like. Uh, right now, I'm listening to Scanner Darkly, the later Philip K. Dick novel, um, and it's just so different. It hits so different. I can't believe I'm talking that way, like a Zoomer. It hits different, man. But with a lifetime of perspective from the time I read it, I think it was the first Philip K. Dick book I read, and I know it was. I know that I read it when it came out as a paperback. I think it was probably a paperback original. Philip K. Dick wasn't doing very well at that time. Unfortunately, he died just before the Philip K. Dick Renaissance. Unfortunately for him. Um, So I am influenced by the channels I watch, and I'm influenced by the channels that comment here. I go and look at their channels if I can find them, and uh, so I guess I can't think of anybody I'd like to be more like. There are channels that I like a lot, obviously, and I like them because they're different than mine, and I like mine. I think it's fine. Number 10, what's something you love about your channel? Okay, there's really been nothing controversial in this whole thing yet. So I don't think I've given any truths that you can't handle, but I do have one. I love listening to myself back. I, um, when I was younger, I would hate to see myself in a photograph or hear my voice or on like a message machine or really anything, any kind of recording and stuff. And I thought that would be a big hurdle when I started this channel. That was one of the reasons I started it. Was uh, I wanted to talk about books. I wanted to give my ideas. I wanted to be able to bore people without knowing that they're bored. Like, if I were sitting in a cafe talking like this for the whole time, I would see how bored people were, and then I would have to stop and let them talk too. But uh, this is the embarrassing stuff. I'm in love with the sound of my own voice. I love my ideas, and I kind of use these videos to. And this is why I don't do as many responses to other people's ideas now, unless I'm having a hard time uh, processing my own thoughts. I use these videos to process my own thoughts. It's the lazy person's way of writing. It's just to get on here and just start talking, and I'll listen to them. I don't listen to every one back because that's a bit too much, but sometimes I'll start listening to it back as I'm loading it and all that, and I'll think that was a really good point. I really made sense there, which you watching these videos must find just insane to think about. But I do learn a lot about my own opinions and my own thought processes from listening to my own voice back, maybe the way I would if I were writing it down, which would probably be better. Anyway, that is the 10. I didn't think about tagging people. This comes back to, a lot of people that I had a lot of kind of back and forth relationship with uh, don't don't do videos, and I hope they come back. You people who know who you are, but some of them um, don't want to do it. They just feel like it's kind of pointless after a while, and I get that too because my channel grew. My channel doesn't grow anymore. I think it's really hit its level, which is about the high 200s. Uh, Whereas in the beginning, I would post anytime I post a video, I'd pick up 3 or 4 subscribers. But now I've had like two new subscribers in a month, which is probably makes more sense. Let's not kid ourselves. It's not really anything. There are so many channels, and YouTube is getting, and social media in general is getting so hard to use. And look, here again, I wasted 33 minutes of everybody's time. So, if you're following 50 BookTube channels, I'm following at least that many, and you're listening to all their videos, when do you have time to do anything else? So I am a bit self-indulgent, but I kind of like that. I'm more than a bit self-indulgent in this channel, but that's kind of my favorite thing about it, and that's where I will end the tag. Consider yourself tagged if you want to do it. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Let me know. Tag me or put a comment down if you're going to do it so I can watch yours. Take care.